Look at the very top of your screen right this second. 50 browser tabs are staring back at you in complete chaos. The text on them has completely vanished. They are just tiny, squished icons gasping for digital air. Your computer fan is screaming like a jet engine. The processor is burning dangerously hot. The system memory is completely exhausted and begging for mercy. Yet, your index finger nervously hovers over the tiny exit button. You freeze. Your chest tightens as if a heavy weight just dropped on your lungs. A cold knot forms deep in the pit of your stomach. Your breathing becomes shallow and erratic. Your sympathetic nervous system is silently triggering a low-grade panic attack. You simply cannot click it. You absolutely refuse to close a single one. You tell yourself you will read that obscure article tomorrow. You bookmark another recipe you will never cook. You open a new tab just to keep the old ones company. Why do you willingly let your expensive machine choke to death, rather than discard a piece of virtual information you know you will never actually read? Are you just hopelessly lazy and chronically disorganized? Is your fragile attention span completely shattered by the relentless speed of modern technology? Or is there a much older, infinitely more powerful biological algorithm currently hijacking the microscopic movements of your hand? Modern society constantly labels this compulsive digital hoarding as a toxic lack of professional focus. Silicon Valley productivity experts aggressively demand that you cleanse your workspace to achieve mental clarity. They confidently diagnose your chaotic screen as a tragic symptom of a broken, undisciplined mind suffering from severe attention deficit. You swallow their judgment. You internalize the shame. You genuinely believe that you are fundamentally flawed, but they are entirely wrong. The intense guilt you feel right now is a massive physiological lie. Your brain is not malfunctioning in the slightest. It is not helplessly addicted to meaningless distraction. What you are experiencing in this exact microscopic moment is a phenomenal, breathtaking masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. Your central nervous system is blindly executing a sacred biological mandate that kept your ancient ancestors alive through the most brutal, unforgiving winters of the Pleistocene epoch. You are not a victim of the internet. By the time this video ends, you will completely stop punishing yourself for this perceived weakness, because that messy, overcrowded browser is not a pathetic sign of your modern failure. It is the ultimate, undeniable proof of your primitive survival brilliance. Every productivity guru commands you to practice strict digital minimalism. They sell you sophisticated tab managers. They relentlessly preach the psychological benefits of a clean, empty workspace. You desperately try to obey their rigid rules. You slowly move your mouse toward that little X icon. Suddenly, your primal brain violently resists. A sharp, immediate spike of cortisol floods your bloodstream. Your skeletal muscles tense up. Your index finger physically paralyzes over the clickpad. The popular minimalist advice is not curing your distraction at all. It is completely destroying your delicate neural ecology. Why does a simple software command trigger such a severe physiological stress response? To understand this invisible war, we must crack open your neurochemistry. You have always been told that dopamine is merely the cheap reward chemical for instant pleasure. That is a dangerous, fundamentally flawed oversimplification. In reality, dopamine is the primary neurotransmitter of relentless seeking and gathering. It is the raw molecular engine of your dopaminergic seeking pathway. Your brain is not a modern aesthetic minimalist. It is an ancient, highly calibrated, resource-gathering machine operating on a severe scarcity mindset. Let us isolate the variable here. If you read a physical encyclopedia, you finish the page, you close the heavy book, and you feel entirely satisfied. The physical environment is closed and predictable. But the internet is fundamentally different. It is an infinite, unpredictable digital wilderness overflowing with elusive data. When you discover an interesting article, a deep dive video, or an unresolved thread, your amygdala instantly registers it as a crucial survival resource. If you force yourself to close that tab, you are not simply clearing glowing pixels off a glass screen. You are sending a terrifying contradictory signal to your primitive nervous system. You are explicitly telling it that you are willingly throwing away gathered nutritional calories. The cognitive dissonance is absolutely staggering. The modern corporate world demands a sterile, empty workspace for maximum aesthetic focus, but your evolutionary hardware demands maximum resource retention for ultimate biological safety. This is exactly why the forced closure of a tab feels physically painful to you. To your subconscious mind, hitting that exit button is a deliberate act of self-induced starvation. Scientists who study cognitive psychology and human-computer interaction have a very specific, undeniable name for this exact behavioral algorithm: information foraging theory. Developed by elite researchers at the Palo Alto Research Center, this framework proves a magnificent truth. Your brain navigates the internet using the exact same neural pathways and chemical rewards that early hominids used to track moving prey and harvest wild berries in the forest. You are not a mindless, undisciplined internet addict. You are a hyper-efficient digital forager. Your brain brilliantly treats those 50 open tabs as a vital, life-saving stockpile of winter supplies. But this glorious revelation raises a much more unsettling question. If this digital hoarding is such a perfect, flawless survival mechanism, why does looking at all those open tabs make your brain feel so incredibly exhausted and paralyzed right now? The dark answer lies not in the tabs themselves, but in a brutal evolutionary miscalculation happening deep inside your frontal lobe. Why does an apex predator suddenly freeze completely? Your ancient ancestors survived the brutal wilderness by ruthlessly hoarding every single vital physical resource. You are executing a perfect biological survival strategy. Look closely at the rugged, weather-beaten hunter carefully stalking through the perilous, freezing plains of the Pleistocene epoch. He suddenly spots a rare, vibrant bush overflowing with nutrient-dense berries hidden in the dense foliage. He does not simply walk away from this miraculously life-saving discovery. He meticulously memorizes its exact geographical location. He aggressively harvests every single piece of fruit, and he frantically hoards the precious calories to ensure his vulnerable tribe survives the impending brutal winter. Now, instantly fast forward 300,000 years to your current, seemingly safe digital environment. You are sitting completely still, bathed in the cold, artificial blue light of your glowing smartphone screen. You uncover a fascinating research paper, a complex software tutorial video, and a highly detailed culinary recipe. Your primitive dopamine system immediately identifies these abstract digital artifacts as high-value, life-sustaining survival calories. You forcefully open a new browser tab. You aggressively hoard the abstract information. You permanently lock it down inside your virtual cache. You are flawlessly performing the exact same biological algorithm. The rapid neurological firing pattern actively illuminating your brain right now is absolutely indistinguishable from the ancient hunter discovering the hidden berry bush. Your central nervous system is brilliantly executing a prehistoric survival strategy with absolute, terrifying precision. Every single tab you open is a precious berry plucked from the wild bush. Every single tab you refuse to close is a sturdy piece of firewood stored for the storm. Every single tab you obsessively hoard is a desperate, mathematically calculated defense against impending starvation. Your brain is functioning with absolute, majestic perfection. It is aggressively defending your fragile physical existence. But this breathtaking evolutionary transition harbors a devastating, invisible flaw. Why does your brilliant mind feel so incredibly suffocated right now? The tragic reality lies in a massive, catastrophic evolutionary mismatch between your ancient hardware and your modern software. The ancient physical wilderness always possessed strict, inescapable natural limitations. The physical berry bush eventually runs out of sweet fruit. The sprawling forest eventually runs out of usable firewood. The physical environment organically forces a natural, peaceful conclusion to the exhausting hoarding process. But the modern internet is an infinite, limitless, artificially generated ecology of endless data points. There is absolutely no natural scarcity in cyberspace. There is no organic end to the digital harvest. Therefore, your relentlessly loyal dopaminergic seeking system simply never stops hunting for more. Your inner hunter continuously gathers virtual firewood for a brutal, freezing winter that will never, ever actually arrive. Your amygdala, acting like a deeply traumatized, overprotective biological bodyguard, ruthlessly hijacks the delicate processing power of your prefrontal cortex. It violently screams at you to gather more, to store more, and to absolutely never let anything go. It explicitly forbids you from closing those tabs because it genuinely believes you are deleting your only food supply. The sheer cognitive weight of this infinite digital harvest is slowly, methodically crushing the limited capacity of your working memory. The profound mental exhaustion you feel is not a symptom of modern laziness or indiscipline. It is the agonizing, very real biological burden of carrying an infinite harvest on neurological shoulders specifically designed for a distinctly finite world. But the most shocking part of this primitive survival mechanism is not merely happening in the distant, ancient past. It is happening right now, actively draining the crucial blood flow in your frontal lobe as you stare blankly at your crowded screen. You genuinely think you are just helplessly failing at basic digital organization? What is actually coming next, deep inside your overwhelmed neural architecture, is a physiological phenomenon that will completely shatter how you view your own mind. You stare blankly at the chaotic, overcrowded screen, illuminating your tired face. The self-hatred immediately begins to spiral out of control. You aggressively label yourself as a terrible, unproductive worker. You genuinely think your fundamental discipline is irreparably broken. You convince yourself that your attention span has been completely destroyed by the relentless speed of the modern internet. You viciously berate yourself for being perpetually distracted. You diagnose your own messy digital habits as a shameful, incurable psychological flaw. You forcefully promise to do better tomorrow by downloading even more restrictive productivity applications to brutally punish your own wandering mind. You meticulously pile an immense, crushing weight of moral guilt onto your already exhausted biological shoulders. You demand absolute, robotic perfection from a nervous system that is currently drowning in abstract artificial stimuli. According to cognitive science, the average human working memory can only securely hold about 7 distinct items at any given moment. Yet, you are ruthlessly forcing your fragile prefrontal cortex to simultaneously juggle 50 wildly unrelated, complex digital ecosystems. You are mathematically demanding the impossible. You are aggressively pushing your finite biological hardware far beyond its absolute maximum thermal limits. The internal pressure is mounting. The ancient circuits are overheating. The primitive system is silently screaming. But no, you are not broken. Your brain simply tripped the breaker. When the sheer volume of gathered information severely threatens to incinerate your neural pathways, your body executes a flawless emergency override. That profound, overwhelming paralysis you feel right now? That complete inability to process one more sentence? That heavy, suffocating fog clouding your frontal lobe? It is not a tragic failure of your character. It is an act of profound, unconditional, biological love. Your vagus nerve is actively intervening. Your autonomic nervous system is deliberately freezing your motor functions to completely prevent a catastrophic cognitive burnout. It intentionally paralyzes your hand so you physically cannot hunt for more data. It purposefully clouds your conscious awareness so you cannot process another pixel. Your mind is rapidly pulling down heavy steel blast doors to protect the fragile command center from severe sensory overload. It forces you into a sudden state of digital dissociation because your ongoing sanity literally depends on absolute inaction. Your brain is going on a desperate, necessary strike against the toxic modern environment. Every single time you completely zone out while staring at that overwhelming wall of browser tabs, your body is actively saving your life. The mental fatigue is not a weakness, it is the impenetrable shield. The chronic procrastination is not a sin, it is the heavy armor. You are currently experiencing a majestic, highly orchestrated biological defense mechanism. But completely accepting this radical truth is only the very first step toward your ultimate liberation. You are finally free from the heavy burden of constant self-punishment. The messy screen is no longer a monument to your failure. It is simply a quiet testament to your extraordinary biological resilience. Your mind has always been your most fiercely loyal protector. It bravely hunted for resources to ensure your survival. It shut down the system when the digital noise became dangerously loud. You do not need to apologize for your chaotic humanity. You can leave those glowing digital boxes open without feeling shame. You can slowly step away from the machine and just breathe. Evolution designed you to carefully wander through a very calm physical world. It never prepared your body for the violent speed of artificial data. Forgiving your primitive body is the ultimate act of modern psychological rebellion. Every unopened tab is a quiet shadow of your ancient survival instinct. You can stop fighting the flawless machinery operating beneath your skin. Let the digital winter arrive without feeling fear of impending starvation. You are profoundly safe in this exact moment of quiet stillness. The relentless hunting season is officially over for your tired mind today. Your overloaded nervous system deserves a profound moment of absolute peace. This physical body is desperately fighting for your ultimate well-being. You must finally learn to forgive it completely. The profound guilt you carried for so long is quietly washing away. You can look at the screen and gently smile at your survival. The silent war inside your head is reaching a beautiful, peaceful conclusion. But your delicate journey of radical self-acceptance is still incredibly fragile. Your forgiveness today is incomplete if tomorrow brings another hidden biological crisis. Another ruthless algorithm is silently running deep inside your ancient neural pathways. Your body expertly survives the overwhelming digital hoarding with extreme grace. But it completely collapses during the mundane forms of modern digital communication. Soon, your screen will suddenly light up with a 2-minute voice note. Your stomach will instantly knot into a tight ball of pure nausea. You will feel physically sick just thinking about pressing that play button. Your throat will suddenly close up tight in silent desperation. The lack of visual cues forces your brain into constant panic. Asynchronous talking becomes a terrifying ghost haunting your very own nervous system. A harmless audio file triggers the highest level of biological threat detection. I will dissect that invisible suffocation for you in my next video.